Leah yet.
So we are live, Leah. I'm just going to wait a couple of seconds just to see if we're going live in the group. Just bear with me. We are live. Welcome. Welcome to Get Ready to Rise and Turn Up Tuesday. I have been super excited to I don't know whether it is live. Just one moment. Yeah, we are. I've been super excited to interview you. I've been so moved by your story. Really, really moved for many, many reasons. And I am so in awe of your strength. I know I've only read your social media posts and your story, and I know it tells it shares one side of the story, and for me your story as it appears on social media is strength in abundance. But I know obviously your journey has been harrowing and full of sorrow. So I've read your story. I have shared part of your story in the actual vent itself, but I'd love you to share with our members the journey that you've been on.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with, well, when Rehtaeh, my daughter, I have 3 daughters. So my firstborn daughter, I had her as a single mom at 29, and she was my driving force and my motivator to, because of my own past traumas in my life as a child and a teenager. When she arrived, like, she was my driving force to go to university. I was terrified. But she was the one that I looked to for my drive, my motivation. I got an undergrad degree in psychology and a master's degree in counseling, and I was able to take her to university for those 7 years. So she was my driving force. So it was like me and her kind of against the world for quite a long time. And so I made a promise to her when she was born that I was going to protect her in ways that nobody protected me. So I was going to have all the difficult conversations with her at age appropriate as she got older in teenage years, and then, as she went through those teenage years. And I did do those things. And so I felt that she was safe. She had a good head on her shoulders, very articulate, very intelligent. She had big dreams, big goals. And when she left junior high, we lived in the same community since she was 5. This was her community where she knew everybody. So when she left grade 9 here to go to high school, which would be grade 10, she was 15. She was a straight A student. And of course, when you go to high school, you're going to explore because new people coming in from different schools. So you're going to meet new friends. And she did meet new friends. And she wanted to have a sleepover at one of the new friends' home. So I called the mom, and it was just one community over. And she had never slept outside of our community, but the mom said no problem. So Rehtaeh and the 2 other, her friend that she's staying over with, they went over to somebody's house. 2 brothers lived in that house. Somebody decided to introduce vodka. So everything I taught Rehtaeh about being safe kind of went out the window once she put the vodka in her body, because she obviously didn't really know what that impact was going to be. She's 15. And Rehtaeh got very intoxicated, and her friend left her there. So at some point during that evening, those 2 brothers, 2 other males showed up. So Rehtaeh was raped that night by 4 males. And a photo was taken of one of the assaults. So that photo was taken and shared in her community and school within a couple of days. So there was a couple of days there that the person who took the photo had a decision to make and decided to share that photo. And then all of a sudden, in the community that Rehtaeh loved and felt very much a part of, she went into her school one day, and now she wasn't Rehtaeh. She was now the slut, because a story got ahead of her. So they went and told a story that went along with the photo. And nobody really questioned that photo. They all targeted Rehtaeh. And so the targeting and then the police investigation began. And then her mental health just started deteriorating immediately. And that photo So I had to go off work because of course, it brought up my own rape, it brought up my own trauma. I was already struggling as a single mom with three girls at the time, just trying to manage my life and working. And so, like, I was already right here, and that tipped me over. So, of course, now the whole family is in trauma and trying to get her to help she needed. So I had to leave work to do that. And just watching her kind of go from this confident, looking forward to life to losing her a little bit each day. So in 17 months, she put herself in the hospital because she was terrified for her life from her own thoughts. So after 17 months, she died by suicide. And in those 17 months, that photo was never contained. So she would try to get back up and go to a different school, different community. We moved her around because she actually just wanted to go back to school, heal, and get on with her life. But that isn't what happened. And she couldn't get away from the photo, no matter where she went. So it was in a moment like she didn't want that. And obviously, a lot of people will say, "Oh, suicide is so selfish." And Rehtaeh shared everything with me pretty much, and she would say, "I don't want to die. I just want them to leave me alone. I just want to live my life." So it wasn't that she wanted to die or that she was selfish or she wanted to leave. It was in that moment of so she was 17 at that time. So in that moment of being triggered by something and all the trauma coming back, like she acted in that moment. And if she could have taken that moment back, she would have, but she couldn't. So then she was in the hospital, and it took a few days for her to die. And then from there, that began a different journey for me.
Yeah.
So there was no way I knew she didn't want her voice to be silenced. I knew she fought hard to stay here. So all of a sudden, my fear of public speaking I almost didn't go to university because I was terrified of public speaking if they called on me in class or something. So all of a sudden, none of that mattered anymore. It wasn't
Yeah.
even about me. Like something else popped in, and it's like suddenly I was in the front of the media and meeting with the Prime Minister of Canada, and People Magazine showed up, and documentary. It was just like this whirlwind. I was just put there. So the anger kept me propelled for a little bit because anger is a great motivator for
Yeah.
getting stuff done.
Yeah.
So there's been laws changed in Canada in the criminal code. Um, there's been laws changed here locally. So it was a movement that almost started taking on a life of its own. So that is the trauma that led me on a deep, deep healing path in a Reader's Digest version.
And the guys, or I guess they were teenage boys, right? What happened to them?
Nothing happened to them while she was alive.
Right.
So they didn't even interview them. They attempted to interview them. I think it was like maybe 10 months into the investigation. And the parents said that they don't want the police interviewing their boys. And so that was the end of the investigation. And I don't think they really knew what to do with the photo, but in the end, they said that um, it was child pornography because she was 15 years old.
Of course.
In the end, they said that the reason why they couldn't press charges was because they couldn't see her face in the video or in the picture. So they weren't really sure if it was her. And I'm like, it is her. And
Yeah.
they know it's her. And everybody knows it's her. So there was reasons that were pretty lame excuses for not doing their job.
And as it pertained to the media, were they knocking on your door as soon as it happened? How did you how did
Well,
that
what I did is I
know?
I did a Facebook post when she was in the hospital dying.
Right.
Um, I don't even remember, but it went viral.
Yeah.
The post went viral, and then all of a sudden, the media and just People Magazine flew in from New York, and it was just all of a sudden,
Wow.
it just kind of went all over because, and I say this a lot in presentations, the reason why is because cyber abuse, sexualized violence, and mental health, those issues, those are happening in every single community around the world. So I feel like because it just resonates with everybody, that had to
Yeah.
come to the surface because people feel that they see it. So it's something that is a kind of a universal feeling, like, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
that could happen to my child. That could
Mm-hmm.
happen to anybody's child.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Bless you.
Yeah.
And how long did the media coverage go on for? How long did you have to remain, like, keep your head above water, if you like?
2 full years. Rehtaeh's name and her story was in the media in some form, in print, in documentaries, in textbooks, in the legislature, in
Mhm.
the laws and media. It just 2 full years for sure.
Mm.
And for those 2 full years, her father and I were definitely attacked online and harassed also
For what
by the
reason?
families of the males
My,
that were involved. Yeah.
my goodness. And has that died down now? Or do you still get attacked?
No, I think it's died down a little bit now. We did end up going to court because after she died, um, one of the males reached out to me and he told me that he didn't rape Rehtaeh, and in it he explains the whole message of exactly what the police would have needed initially to charge him. As in his explanation of trying to say he didn't rape her, you could clearly see where he raped her, and that I'm the one in the photo. He says it all there. Um, so they were charged after the fact because I took that message and I brought it to the police.
Okay.
So they were charged after the fact. So there was a court case and uh, there was a publication ban on her name. So that was like other things would just kind of rise up to bring it back to the media.
Mm.
Mm.
And within that period, how did you deal with your grief, or did you suppress it within that 2-year period?
Well, initially, the anger kind of propelled me to make changes and I
Mhm.
did feel a lot of gratitude because people around the world were sending me letters and gifts and messages, and I support you
Mm.
and we love you. And I really saw the power of strangers and how they can lift. I could feel them lifting me up. I
Mm,
could feel
mhm,
them holding me. So
mm,
that, so in all the anger and grief and pain, I could actually feel immense love also. So there was two things happening at the same time.
mhm.
And then and when something like that traumatic happens, you're in so much shock.
Yeah.
And I had thought I've been through a lot of trauma in my life and I climbed over many hurdles, but nothing like that. Nothing like that. And I have two other little girls looking at me to see how we're going to do this, mom, like without saying that, looking
Cool.
to me with their big brown eyes looking at me going like, so it was really rough, and I actually didn't want to live anymore without her. I couldn't see how I could possibly be a good parent anymore. Like I
Yeah.
just felt completely broken.
How old were your other 2 daughters at the time of her passing?
9 and 4.
And did they
Yeah,
understand what happened?
I don't think the nine, I don't know. It was a little bits at a time, like had to feed them little pieces at a time.
Mm.
Um, so it's my 11-year-old still has little pieces that she doesn't understand.
Yeah. Do they ask questions now? They're a little bit older.
My youngest one is always very curious. She'll say anything, but my 16-year-old, very private, very quiet.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's
Are they aware of what happened to you when you were younger as well?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
how
So
does that affect how they are in public? Do they have, reservations about being, um, in small groups? You know how their sister's story panned or, ended, has
yeah,
it
it's
affected them?
um Well, my 16-year-old she's into sports, so she has her sports teams
Yeah,
and she has her own little small group of
yeah,
people. But I didn't, it's really a delicate balance because you want to let them know everything and you don't want them to be terrified of their life.
no.
So it's a delicate balance of giving them some freedom
Hmm.
when it's appropriate, and then allowing them to be who they are without letting them be in total fear of
Yeah,
something happening.
micromanage them. Mm.
It's hard.
Oh, wow. Try my best not to cry.
Mm.
Try my best. It's emotional. It really is emotional. And do they talk about their sister?
The youngest one does a lot. Yeah.
Mm,
My 16-year-old doesn't too often,
mhm,
but every now and then she will. But yeah,
mm.
that was their big sister. They looked up to her.
Of
The
course.
youngest one really, every picture of the youngest one is Rehtaeh holding her.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. And I guess your older sister now is around the same age, so she'll probably have that on the back of her mind, right?
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
she's 16 and yeah. So it's scary. Yeah.
Mm. So what does your beautiful mission to keep your daughter's name alive look like on a daily basis?
So it's been interesting because ever since it's been 7 years, and I've been
Mhm,
speaking, doing keynote presentations to schools, to conferences, um, all over Canada,
mhm,
and that's how I keep her message alive, and that's how I've actually been able to heal my own pain inside because I had to really lean in heavy to step on a spiritual path in order to feel her with me and our voice together. And that's what I do now. It's like I'm the messenger, but it's her message when I speak about sexualized violence. But these days, since COVID, of course, I had to shift a little bit and do because I used to run grief retreats too and workshops, and so now I'm doing more one-on-one and more online program. But the thing that I had to really check in with, how do I feel energetically after I do a presentation, like say to a conference of police officers? Completely drained, days of exhaustion, because I had to go in and go into the case and what went wrong and what they did wrong and
mm,
what happened here and this and how did you, that just takes me totally out emotionally. So I had to kind of start gauging, how do I feel when I speak at a yoga conference? Because I'm a yoga teacher also.
mhm, mhm,
How do I feel when I speak at a yoga conference and I speak about how do we transform trauma? How do
mhm,
we heal? And I
mhm,
feel inspired when I leave there.
mm,
So I'm like, okay, so I have to talk about the healing journey instead of going into details of the trauma.
yeah,
Um, that requires too much self-care. So I had to really I dove down inside myself and I met every single demon that came up, and uh I'm not afraid of any emotion anymore. There's no emotions that are going to come up inside of me that's going to make me afraid.
no,
That's yeah,
imagine. And how long have you been a yoga teacher for?
5 years.
Right.
So yoga pretty much saved my life. So once what I call source spirit spoke to me when I was very suicidal and said, "You need to get back on your path." And I just didn't know how to do that. Like, I just didn't know how I could ever do anything to heal.
Mm,
And so I started listening to the ways that things that were calling to my heart and
mhm,
looking for the moments because the rest of my day was absolute excruciating, agonizing pain physically and emotionally, and like functioning was very difficult. So I had to start really tuning in for looking for those moments and following my heart. And yoga was one of those things that I tuned into. And so I always say yoga saved my life because yoga was the gateway for me. The yoga was the door to go inside and start exploring with a curious mind instead of being terrified.
mm. I know it's beautiful. You're sick. when you're meditating or you're practicing yoga, it's like you're in that sacred space, right? And you feel safe.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you feel so that's how I love to start my morning is just before my son starts his crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let me go to my sacred space first and connect to self, and then I'm ready.
Yeah. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it does. I don't know whether you can see the comments there, Leah. In the top right hand corner,
No,
there's
I
a that
can't.
says comments. I don't know
I
whether
don't
you
see any.
know. So I'll just read some out to you.
Okay.
I can't see someone's Facebook user because they haven't connected to StreamYard. So someone's saying send in love and light. Someone said so much love to you. Gosh, devastating. Oh my goodness, one mother to another, my heart breaks. You're so strong to be here telling your story and your daughter's story. You were truly inspirational. Amy, we have a name. So now there's an Amy. Thanks for joining. I'm not afraid of any emotion anymore. That's your quote, quoting yourself. So big what you said right there. And
Thank you.
another Facebook user says safe place. Yeah, definitely safe place in here.
Yes.
Oh, amazing. So you combine your yoga practice with your with speaking events then, I guess.
Well,
Like,
I teach yoga, but I've also brought yoga into different grief retreats that I've run.
mhm, mhm,
But these days, I work with people one on one. I call them soul sessions. So the
mhm,
mind, the body, the spirit, of course, it's all connected. And I actually, yeah, I had to take that journey, and I had to unlayer all the things I thought I was, who I
mhm,
was, to find the truth of who I truly am, and then.
mhm,
Um, like I said, yoga was just the first doorway in. But yoga, I don't know what happened the first time I went to the yoga class, and I left there going, I don't know what happened, but I had an hour of reprieve from this debilitating pain, so I'm going back. So,
mm,
fibromyalgia showed up in my body, but all of these things were like, uh, where do I need to go next? And it's like, okay, there's pain in your body. Let's look
mhm,
at inflammation. And I just started doing research on inflammation. Okay, I got to give up sugar and carbs. I'm going to do it because I decided that I'm healing. At
mhm,
some point, I decided I'm going to heal.
mhm,
I'm going to make her death and our love for each other stronger by healing. I'm not leaving her behind. Oh, she's coming with me, but we're
mm.
going together. Yeah.
And I guess when you have so much pain and trauma inside, it fills up the space, right? So you needed to make space for her.
Yes. Yeah. Couldn't
Yeah.
You can't hear intuitively. You can't hear what you
Mhm,
need to hear if you're up here in so much pain and spiraling in those pain, the
mm,
stories and what if, and that shouldn't have happened, and why me, and what did I do to deserve this, and she
mhm,
was my everything. I can't go on with it. Like just it just uh, you can't hear spirit. You can't hear your inner guidance system, and so
mm,
when I started clearing things away and saying, hello, like guilt, when your child dies by suicide and you're in the house at the time, like the guilt, and I decided to kind of greet guilt and say, okay, you can come visit, we can have a chat, we can hang
mhm,
out together, but you are not living in my body, because that's the stories that I'm telling. That's just not the truth. It's not
mm,
true that I could have done more. It's not true that if I did X, Y, and Z, like those are just that's just not true. Because if obviously if love could have saved her, she would be here now, and that wasn't her journey. Yeah.
beautiful.
Mm.
So you're did you say you have programs? You deliver programs? Do you want to talk more
Yeah.
about
So
what you do? Are they online now? Is this something that
yeah.
people
So my
like?
soul sessions I do online, like via Zoom. That's a one-on-one.
Mhm,
That's mostly for people who are already kind of on a spiritual path and they've done some healing, but they're still just stuck,
yeah.
and they just need to break through to. So I do that, but I do have a 10-month. I think we're in month 8. So it's
Mm,
a 10-month membership program where
mhm,
I close the group down. I open it for a certain time, then we close it and make our container, and then we work together. And every module is what I've done. So it's very much, even though my story and everybody's story is very unique and different, these are the truth. Like the modules are the truth to what's going to really heal you on the deeper level. So I put it together of what I did to heal, but of course you tailor that differently. But we all know there's certain things you have to do in order to heal. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, if you
Yeah.
could provide some links to your sessions after the call, that would be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what's next? What do you have planned for 2021? Are you going to do pretty much the same, or do you have anything else planned for the future?
Well, everything has changed now. So all my workshop, all
Yeah,
my
you
presentations,
just
all my
got the
workshops.
plan.
Yeah. So I started teaching my yoga in person again, and
Mhm,
I'm just going to do some more one-on-one and
mhm,
focus on my one-on-one sessions. So I opened up that to have some more available because I don't think I'll be doing a lot of traveling for the rest of
yeah,
the year. So that's kind of shifted me in a different direction.
mhm,
And I love that because I didn't struggle during COVID because I just stayed true to what's happening inside of me, and um, just staying true to that. So when I know life is so unpredictable, and so I just had to
mhm,
shift and pivot,
mhm,
as we
mhm.
all do, right? Yeah,
That's a wonderful tip that I'm sure like many people could take note of, because I think at the moment there's so many things going on externally, and it's so easy to be distracted. And it's so um, easy to fall into that rabbit hole, right? Everyone's angry, everyone's shocked,
mm,
hurt, and what have you. And it's so easy to forget yourself, isn't it? To jump outside of yourself and start
yeah.
with too
Yeah,
much
so
energy.
always coming back to how do I soothe my soul? How do I nourish myself?
Mhm,
Because I can either jump into the collective fear or I can jump into love. Like it has to come from here. And
mhm,
we can only do what we do from where we sit and
mhm,
here, and then that emanates out. So
mhm,
when we cultivate that love and compassion for ourselves,
mhm,
then we're going to see it out there and we're going to
mhm,
show up with that.
mhm,
And we don't have to see, there's a lot of beautiful things in the world. And we don't know. Like I tell my children all the time, we have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. So we have to like focus on what's happening today and
mhm.
what's happening good in our life today. And if we feel sad, yeah, let's sit with sadness for a while, but we can't stay there. So that's one of my messages I say to my kids every single day.
You're so
Yeah.
wise. So wise. There are many comments that have come up on here whilst we've been talking. So um, maybe perhaps afterwards, I know you have another call as well, don't you?
Yeah.
You could pop back
I'll
in and
look after, and yeah, I'll
yeah,
definitely come in later and read them, and because
yeah.
I can't see any, so
No, you can't see, no. And what I will do, if you don't mind, is I'll make you admin of the group, and perhaps you could share your links
yeah.
to your sessions, etc. later. And I'd love for you to share a photograph, to honor your daughter, to share a photograph of her and just with some words
Oh,
of
I'd
love.
love to. Yeah, she'd love
Love,
that. Yeah,
love. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
we would love to honor her, definitely.
Thank you for inviting me.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've been so excited to talk to you like all week and all of
Yeah.
last week. And I'm so sorry about the time difference
Oh, that's
confusion.
okay. We made it
So,
work.
yeah, ladies that are in the UK, you know how this BST and GMT thing confuses everybody at the best of times, but it very much confused us today. Well, myself.
Yeah.
But we did it. We turned up, and I feel
Hmm.
so blessed to have had this conversation with you, Leah. And my heart goes out to you and all three of your daughters,
Thank you.
and all three of them. And of course, I'm so sorry that what happened, but it is so absolutely amazing to see somebody go through that and come out the other side and serve so many people in order to
Mhm.
help others. It's just
It amazes me too. I don't know where it comes from. Yeah. When people say I can't imagine, and I say I can't imagine either. and I'm
Yeah.
living it, and I can't imagine. But I
Yeah.
also can't imagine the healing that has happened like I would never have imagined that either. So
Mhm, mhm.
like who knows, right? Like what's gonna
Very
yeah,
few. We just
yeah,
don't
we're
know. We don't know what's gonna happen in life. We don't actually know how we're going to respond to
yeah.
trauma in our lives, but you know, it helps people who
Hmm.
have people like yourself guiding them who's already had that experience.
Yeah, that there is hope and you really can heal. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
an important thing to know. Yeah. Yeah.
definitely. You're an absolute blessing. Thank you
No,
so much.
thank you.
Thank you for holding
Thank you.
space for us, Leah, and I look forward to seeing your links later in the group.
Oh, for sure. I'll do that later today. Thank you.
Have a fantastic day. What time is it there? Sorry, it's 1 o'clock. Well, it was. It's
It's
one
quarter to two.
45.
Yeah. So it's
Have a
2:45.
have a blessed afternoon and the
You
rest
too.
of your day. Okay, take care.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye everyone.